I want to answer this question along with the general question of why do bad things happen to people? And I want to answer it from a spiritual perspective. So if you're not on a spiritual journey and you don't want to look at things from a spiritual perspective and it seems to be a bit too much for you, feel free to move along. As souls, our goal is to learn and grow through experiences. That's why we incarnate. If we wanted everything to be roses, unicorns, and rainbows, we wouldn't have any reason to incarnate. We would just stay in the spiritual realm. But we come to really tough planets like Earth to learn through something called duality. Duality is where there's opposites, and it's like a big giant playground where we get to play different roles. We get to play, in other words, good cop, or good guy and bad guy. And in order for someone to play the quote unquote bad guy, you have got to have someone who plays the opposite role, or the victim, or the good guy. So yes, we do agree to that. On a soul level, not your human mind, your soul does. Oftentimes, we get to plan our next life when we're in between lives, but that's not always the case. I've seen many instances in my life in between life hypnosis sessions where we allow our spirit team or even creator or our spirit council to do the planning for us. We're just like, well, here's the list of lessons I have to learn, and it doesn't really matter how I learn them, so just choose something for me and I'm all in for it. In those cases, it's like giving a blanket permission slip. Even when we do know, for the most part, what's going to happen in this life, we don't always know all the details because, of course, there's always free will that happens. We can make a myriad number of different choices on how we're going to act or react in different circumstances. But in the planning of this life, there are all kinds of things the soul takes into consideration. One of the things they take into consideration is, what do I want to learn in that lifetime? And then they go through all kinds of challenges and obstacles and walk through the hero's journey in order to overcome and learn things. Then there's also something called karma, where we want to experience the opposite maybe of what we did or what we experienced in a previous life. Quick example to illustrate. In one of my higher self hypnosis sessions, I had a male client who was down here and married and had just an awful time in this life. He went into business with a friend, and the friend ended up, in his words, screwing him over. He lost this very lucrative company when this friend screwed him over. Not only that, but during all this drama, his wife left him. So this client of mine really felt like he lost everything, and he was really stuck in a victim mentality. Like, poor me, why did this have to happen to me? But when we did the hypnosis session, he was shown a past life. And in that particular past life, he was incarnated with these same two souls, the woman who was his wife in this lifetime and the friend and business partner who screwed him over in this lifetime. Him and his current business partner were brothers in that past life. And the woman who is his wife in this lifetime was his brother's wife. In that previous life, he was incredibly cruel to his brother. He would purposely do things to hurt him, like not attending his brother's 12th birthday party just because he knew it would hurt his brother. Not only that, but later on when his brother got married, he started an affair with his brother's wife, and that continued until the day his brother died. And to make matters even worse, and to hurt his brother even more, on his brother's deathbed, he told his brother about the affair he had been having all those years with his wife. So then when I took this client into the life in between life portion of his hypnosis session, he was so excited and he was running around excitedly asking that same soul who was his brother and the same soul who was his brother's wife, come on, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Come back down to earth with me. And this time you get to screw me over. And I will reiterate to you, he was asking them very excitedly. He wanted this to happen. He wanted to experience what it was like to be on the receiving end. That may sound wild and hard to believe when you think about it from a human standpoint. But again, these plans are not made from a human perspective. They are made from a soul perspective on what would help the soul grow. Both souls finally agreed to incarnate with him again, but the woman who said she would be his wife in this lifetime said, I've incarnated with you enough. This needs to come to an end. So down there on earth in this next lifetime, I'm going to end things between us. and he was totally fine with that. He was also more than okay with the fact he knew his friend in this lifetime was going to quote unquote screw him over in the same way he had done in the previous life. The initial question that sparked this video was, so people choose to lose their kids to CPS or have people steal our kids? These are definitely things we would know about before we came here, but there is so much more behind that question that on a human level we could never ever understand. We could never understand why we would be okay with experiencing that on a human level because it's so painful. But these plans were not made by our human minds. These plans were made on a soul level long before the personality of the human that you are in this lifetime even existed. Our souls know what they are doing, and they know why we experience these things, why we choose to experience these things. Maybe there's karma you're working out with regard to losing your children. I have seen that. In one instance, it was someone who was driving drunk in a past life, and they hit a family's car head on and killed the two children in the back seat. So in this lifetime, that soul chose to lose her two children to the same souls that were the parents in the last life that lost their two children in the accident. It was karma coming around. And karma is something that on a soul level, we are absolutely okay with. We want to experience both sides of the equation. In that instance, what was it like to take someone's children from them? And then in the opposite, what is it like to lose your children to someone else? I'm not saying that's the case in every instance. It could be the first time that something like this is happening, and then karma is incurred, and you'll come back again in another life and experience the opposite. We just don't know everything that goes on behind the scenes because, again, our human minds, our conscious minds, were not part of the planning. Our human minds don't know what has happened in previous lifetimes. That information can only come from our soul. Our human ego mind, our personality mind didn't exist then. This is the only lifetime that this human personality of Sally or Susan or Joe or Jose exists. They didn't exist before. It was your soul. And in other lifetimes, you were someone, a different personality completely. So trying to understand this from a human perspective will never give you the answers. If you want to delve into this topic even further, I highly recommend a book called Your Soul's Plan by author Robert Schwartz and his sequel called Your Soul's Gift. In it, he looks at many people's life in between lives and why they planned the difficult things that they did. It might give you a better perspective on how we plan things from a soul perspective and why it can be so hard to understand on a human level. But is all of this stuff that happens to us a choice? Usually it is. There's no hard and fast. It's not always in every single instance, but I say usually it is. And it's our souls choosing it for the experience and for the growth that we accumulate on a soul level that will help us and aid us in many lifetimes to come. And if you like higher self hypnosis stories, you can actually check out my YouTube channel where I have a number of sessions that my client allowed me to share the recording when they were channeling their higher selves. And as always, you can click the link in my profile to find out how to get a free 15-minute phone consultation with me to see if higher self hypnosis and past life regression is a good fit for you.